We are wrapping up 2023 with a wellness watch. All eyes may be on the new year, but we should also be looking out for our health, which is why we have Andrea Koerner here from Digestive Health Institute. Welcome to Studio 10.
Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
We are super excited to have you here because we love every month when people come in and they can help us break down a certain disease or illness. And this month we're focusing on IBD, which impacts a lot of people. So Andrea, talk me through a little bit about what IBD actually is.
So IBD stands for inflammatory bowel disease. It's a chronic autoimmune inflammatory disease that affects the gastrointestinal tract. In IBD, there's two diseases, Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. Ulcerative colitis is one type of colitis. Colitis is just inflammation of the GI tract, and various things can cause that, like infections or viruses. But ulcerative colitis means an inflammatory pathway has affected your colon specifically.
Oh, wow. So there is a difference that we see, because sometimes they're all kind of lumped together.
Yes. Many people will say they have colitis, but there's different things that can cause that.
Gotcha. So speaking of causing, let's talk a little bit about some of those common alarm systems that our viewers should keep track of, because is this something that develops over time?
Yeah, it does. It develops gradually, and it's very important. You know, in the GI world, we use different acronyms like IBD, meaning inflammatory bowel disease, or IBS, meaning irritable bowel syndrome. Very different types of things. IBS is a syndrome. Although it causes symptoms that can overlap with IBD, it is not an inflammatory process. It does not cause any damage to the intestines, although may produce symptoms that affect quality of life. Whereas IBD is an inflammatory pathway, and so if untreated, you know, can result in negative consequences to your health and even hospitalization. And so it's very important to kind of know these alarm symptoms that require evaluation by your doctor or maybe even a gastroenterologist. And those include different things like persistent diarrhea, especially diarrhea waking you up in the middle of the night, blood in your stool, vomiting, unintentional weight loss or loss of appetite, and even a low blood count called anemia.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so these are all things that we should keep an eye out for, and of course, consult a doctor if we do see any of these. But you mentioned treatment. So, you know, obviously there's no cure for IBD, but if we are diagnosed with this, what kind of treatment options do we have? Yeah,
there's various different treatments, kind of depending on how severe your disease is. There's pills, infusions, injections. Typically, the more severe, you know, the higher the treatment, maybe infusion or injection versus pill. We unfortunately don't necessarily know what, you know, causes IBD. We know that an individual has a genetic, you know, susceptibility plus likely an environmental trigger, meaning something in their environment via medication, infection, smoking, you know, those are the most common causes.
Yeah, and anything else that we should keep an eye out for in regards to IBD that we haven't brought up that, you know, is good advice, especially as we head in the new year?
It's very important, you know, if you are an individual who's been diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease, to really stay in close communication with your doctor and maintain appropriate follow-up that's been recommended for you. It is a disease that we say can relapse and remit, meaning that there are periods where you feel really well. You might not feel like you have IBD at all. That's called remission. There are relapses, also known as flares, where you're having a lot of those active alarm symptoms. And our goal is really to keep you in remission for a prolonged period of time, kind of minimize those flare-ups. And we can do that best for you by keeping you on a medication regimen and checking in and making sure that that's working for you. So really staying in touch with your doctor in order for them to do that for you.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by. I've learned so much in, you know, the few minutes that you've been here. And of course, we're going to have more information about IBD, as well as how you can make an appointment, those next steps, and more information. All of that will be on the screen as well as online. But thank you so much for stopping in.